Today's webinar. We are going to go ahead and get started. I want to welcome you all to the ABCs of School Wellness Policies and the Role of Parents. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Alex Scheibel, and I am the Policy Analyst at Healthy Schools Campaign, which is the organization that's hosting today's webinar. And we'll go ahead and tell you a little bit more about Healthy Schools Campaign in a couple minutes, but first, I just wanted to quickly walk through some of the logistics for today's webinar. Our webinar is going to run for about an hour, and we are going to record the webinar, and we'll post a recording of the webinar as well as the presenter slides online, and we'll be sending out a link to that by the end of the week, so you can share that with other people in your network. Also, we have a very quick survey. It's 2 questions at the end of the webinar, so please take a moment to fill that out. We're always looking for ways to improve our webinars. And then finally, CPDUs are available through this webinar, and that information will be emailed to you after. We're going to try and save the last 15 minutes at the end of the webinar for question and answer, so just go ahead and chat your questions in throughout the webinar. You have a little question box on the right-hand side of your screen, and just please feel free throughout the webinar, send in all your questions. We'll be compiling them, and then we'll ask them of our wonderful speakers at the very end. We have a great lineup of speakers today. We have Rosa Ramirez-Richter from Healthy Schools Campaign, Leandro Paget from the Office of Student Health and Wellness, Dana Butler, Principal at Ruiz Elementary, and Ann Gillespie, Principal at Academy for Global Citizenship. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and hand it over to my colleague Rosa, but first we want to run a quick poll question just to get a better idea of who is out there. So we want to know, who are you? Tell us if you're a parent, a teacher, a principal, if you work for a nonprofit, or if you fall into that other category. And I will go ahead and intro Rosa while you're taking that poll. Rosa is the Wellness and Education Program Manager at Healthy Schools Campaign, and she works with a wide range of school leaders, community members, nonprofits, public agencies, and faith-based organizations. Through these collaborations, she helps schools create healthy environments where wellness, healthy eating, physical activity, and nutrition education are priorities. Rosa has a Master's of Science in Community Development from University of California at Davis, and a bachelor's degree from DePaul. So we will go ahead and close that poll. It looks like the vast majority of people on today's webinar are teachers, so we look forward to sharing this information with you. And to everybody else, welcome. There's lots of information that will be relevant to everybody today. So I will go ahead now and hand it over to Rosa.
Good morning, everyone. This is Rosa, as Alex said. And first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend an hour with us. We really do value the profession that you do and honor and really value all that you do. So good luck on the first day of school next week. Before we get started, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Healthy Schools Campaign. We are a little but mighty nonprofit located in Chicago, and we work at the state and national levels. And much of our work has focused on improving the food and fitness environment of public schools, in particular Chicago public schools. Much of our programs are about identifying and supporting school stakeholders, including parents, teachers, students, principals, and school nurses. And we do this because we believe in the common sense notion that healthy students are better learners. And so we believe that the whole school environment really impacts the academic achievement of students. Everything from the air that they're breathing, to the food that they're consuming in the school lunch program, to what they're actually learning and doing during the school day. Are they having recess? Are they having physical education? Are core subjects integrating healthy messages? And we do this because, next slide, we're in a crisis nationally and worldwide of obesity rates just tremendously increasing. So on the screen, what you see is basically a pictorial depiction of the obesity crisis in the United States. So what this is taking data that's collected through the CDC's Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System. That's what BRFSS stands for. So basically, each year, every state health department uses the same data collection methods to collect obesity and obesity trends. And so since 1990, which is the first map of the United States, you can see that 10 states had a prevalence of obesity less than 10%, and that no states had prevalence equal to or greater than 15%. And then we speed forward to 2000, so you can go to the 1999 map of the United States, and you see a lot of different colors here. You're starting to see dark blues, light blues, and beige. And so here you're seeing a tremendous increase. 23 states have a prevalence of obesity rates of 20 to 24%, and no state had prevalence equal to or greater than 25%. But you know, when we start fast forwarding to 2010, we see a huge jump. We have 36 states that have adult obesity rates greater than 25%. And so that's the color that you see in red. And then you start to see an actual new color, because we ran out of colors because the obesity rates have just tremendously grown. So that's greater than 30%. And I just want to start with this because I think sometimes we forget the, you know, the really urgency of the obesity crisis. Next slide. And so if our U.S. adults are in this way, the generation that's currently growing up right now, which are our students, you know, are experiencing tremendous health impacts. You know, almost 1 in 3 children are considered overweight or obese. Recently, the Chicago Department of Public Health with Chicago Public Schools released, you know, released data indicating that 43% of Chicago students are considered overweight or obese. And we know that many of these same students come from low-income families, and they qualify for the free and reduced school lunch meals. So schools, in just so many ways, are a big impact on students' lives and their health habits that they do. And so we also know that many of our students just experience physical education 1 day a week. And, you know, and for when we start looking at different neighborhoods in Chicago, these obesity rates are tremendously higher. In some areas, such as in Roseland or in Humboldt Park, you could see obesity rates as high as 50%. So at its core, you know, at the core of childhood obesity, we know that this is something that we can do something about. It's not like we're waiting for a cure. We know that it impacts students severely. You know, it's leading to frightening health consequences such as heart disease, type 2 diabetes, asthma, sleep apnea, and the list goes on and on. And so what we're really about is saying that schools can do and already do impact students' lives and their healthy habits that they can form. From the air that they're breathing to the food that they're eating, you know, to the opportunities they have to be active and the habits they develop. You know, schools shape their health and learning for a lifetime. So next slide, Alex. So in Continuum, we also know schools can't do it alone. And we know that home and engaging parents around these issues is very important. And we also know it's really challenging to engage parents, and, you know, especially when schools have so many competing priorities. But we believe it's so important to build a school culture that works thoughtfully and deliberately to form relationships with families that are respectful and reciprocal. And we know that to combat this childhood obesity crisis, it's going to take schools and families working together. And so, you know, studies have shown that students who have parents engaged in their school lives, they're more likely to have better academic achievement, better student behavior, better social skills. And in addition, this also impacts the health of their students if their parents are more engaged at school. They're less likely to smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, become pregnant, be physically inactive, or be, you know, stressed out. So although it's challenging, we just want to keep this front and center, especially as school is about to get started, that families and schools working together should definitely be a priority. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit of the history of parents really advocating for healthier schools in Chicago. We might think, oh, parents, they don't care about this health and wellness stuff. And, you know, we beg to differ. We say there are many parents that are interested and have awareness of how childhood obesity is impacting their families, or how diabetes has just, you know, tremendously caused death in their family. So here is a photo of parents of Chicago public school students who attended our leadership training program, and they have really been instrumental in speaking up for their children's right to a healthy school environment. And so in the last decade, Chicago has seen significant strides being made for children's health. And some of these include, you know, having recess being returned to the school day, having breakfast in the classroom being offered to all elementary schools. There's now a healthy school indicator on the school progress report card that Leandra Paget will speak to you a little bit more about later. And they've also been instrumental in nudging the school district in raising nutrition standards for school food. And as Leandra will speak to later, they've also been instrumental in gaining momentum to pass stronger district-wide wellness policies. And so before we leave it off to our next speakers, I just want to say there are really 6 ways to work with families on school wellness. And the first one we like to talk about is that schools can help parents be better parents, especially around health and wellness. We can help them understand the connection between physical activity and cognition, for example. Communicating with parents, just having the schools understand that they value health and wellness, especially around celebrations and rewards, is also a great way to work with families on a softer, passive way. Providing parents with a variety of volunteer opportunities, having them, you know, help monitor recess, have them help out during breakfast in the classroom, things like that. And also just providing a space for parents to enrich themselves and raise the level of awareness they have about health and wellness for their own lives. So, for example, we know many of our schools have started healthy cooking clubs, you know, that really reinforces what the kids are learning in the classroom at home. And also encouraging parents to join the school wellness team, or you know, encouraging them to attend the local school council meetings. And of course, lastly, but not least, is collaborating with great groups such as ours, Healthy Schools Campaign, or other, you know, after-school programs to help you make the changes that you want to see in your school. And so with that, I want to tell you that Healthy Schools Campaign offers a variety of resources, and if you want to learn more, please visit us at healthyschoolscampaign.org. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Rosa, for setting the foundation for our webinar today. Next, we have Leandra Paget. But before Leandra takes over, we're going to ask another poll question of the audience. We want to know, does your school, do you feel that your school has a friendly and welcoming environment for parents to participate in and contribute? So go ahead and answer that. Leandra is the CPS School Wellness Specialist, and she is going to be speaking today about CPS's new initiative. So we will go ahead and hand it over to her in 1 minute. Let me just share the results of the poll. It looks like the vast majority of people say that you either have a friendly and welcoming environment for parents or you're working on it, which is fantastic. And I think our speakers today will highlight some additional strategies that you can engage parents even more so in your school wellness environment. So Leandra, I will hand it over to you now.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Leandra Paget, and I'm a school wellness specialist within the Office of Student Health and Wellness within the Department of Student Wellness. Next slide. So the Office of Student Health and Wellness was really formed about a year ago, and we have 2 departments. Our first department is Student Health, and really that's really based on our direct services, so our vision and screening, hearing screenings as well. And the Student Wellness Department is the department that I work for. We really focus more on policies around nutrition education, physical education, and school food. Next slide. So what is a wellness policy? So in 2004, Congress really made a requirement that all school districts within the nation that receive free and reduced lunch implement wellness policies that address nutrition and physical activity. So we passed our first wellness policy in 2006 in Chicago. And in 2012, we passed a new policy called the Healthy Snack and Beverage Policy, which updated the old wellness policy, which used to be the vending policy. And so really we made these changes because we really want to see healthier learning environments within the school. And we want to send a strong message out to principals and teachers about how the district really values wellness as has a great impact on the learning of our students. Next slide. So the Healthy School Indicator was placed on the progress report about 2 years ago. And we call this Healthy School Certified. Most principals are really familiar with this indicator. What it means is that a school that's Healthy School Certified has really participated in Michelle Obama's Healthier U.S. School Challenge, which is a part of the USDA. We have about 119 schools that are Healthy School Certified, and that's been a big push over the last 2 years to see certification. And we expect that number to go up really, really close to 200 this year with a lot of the applications that are in. There's several requirements around the Healthier U.S. School Challenge, really focused again on nutrition education, physical activity, healthy rewards and celebrations. And when we talk about the policies a little bit later on, you'll see that a lot of our policies within the school wellness policy are based on these requirements as well. Next slide. So what is Learn Well? So Learn Well is our new initiative to really provide support to schools in aligning with our new policies. What we want to do is we want to see schools again increase opportunities for physical activity and nutrition education within the school, and we want to see schools practicing healthier fundraisers. We have a new website called learnwellcps.org, which has a toolkit with additional resources for teachers and students. And we'll also be doing up-and-coming webinars on Learn Well that will be placed on the Knowledge Center for teachers and principals to access. Next slide. So these are a little bit more of the criteria, just an overview. We really want to see leadership around the wellness policies at the school. So each principal every year is required to nominate a wellness champion and really convene a school wellness team. We just ask that wellness teams meet at least once a quarter. And we want to see them reporting to their LSC as well. Eat Well nutrition education this year must be integrated into every grade level for elementary schools and in 2 courses for high schools. Dine Well, as you know, we have a new food vendor, Aramark, and we want to see them provide healthy food and drink options throughout the school day within our breakfast program and our lunch program. Move Well, we want to see schools maximize moderate to vigorous physical activity throughout the day. We really want to see this goal of schools having 30 minutes of PE class every day. And we want to also, for the first time in 30 years, last year the district implemented recess for 20 minutes a day for elementary school students. And also we want to see Focus Well, which means integrating that 10 minutes of physical activity breaks throughout the school day. So this bottom row is what we call our 30-20-10 initiative for physical activity. Next slide. Celebrate Well, we want to see schools really focus on integrating healthier options throughout school celebrations. This year will be the first year that schools will be required to submit a healthy celebrations and fundraising plan. We have a toolkit of that, a template of that within our toolkit on learnwellcps.org. Fundraise Well, again, really sticking to non-food fundraisers or healthier foods within fundraisers throughout the day. Reward Well, we want to see teachers rewarding students with non-food reward as opposed to candy. And we don't want teachers to withhold recess as a punishment. We really feel that those students really need the recess the most. to really increase their focus within the classroom. Engage well. Again, this is a part of our policy as well, where we want to see parents engaged at the school in a wellness initiative. And Start Well is our early childhood initiative of Learn Well. Next slide. So now we're going to talk about opportunities to involve families. Next slide. And so really one of the ways to get parents involved is to promote healthy celebrations, fundraisers, and reward. Again, as I stated earlier, this year the policy requires each school to adopt the healthy celebrations and fundraising plans. Mainly because we want to see an increase in nutritional foods at the school, but we also we realize the impact that having a healthy food throughout the day not only has on maybe the childhood obesity epidemic, but also on behavior and focus in the classroom. And we really feel like parents are our number one stakeholder. One of the ways to do this is to really set realistic expectations for your school. Involve parents and guardians in writing the required healthy celebrations and fundraising plan, informing parents of the changes and communicating the importance of the plan. Within our Learn Well toolkit, we do have a sample parent letter that principals could adopt and provide to parents as well. And if you need any other support on how to communicate these changes at your school, then I am one of the Learn Well specialists that can actually help you and maybe come and visit with your school and your school wellness team. Promoting nutrition education. Every grade must promote nutrition education to elementary schools, to elementary students. And it's really important to engage families in nutrition education initiatives so that they can extend these lessons that are learned at school to home. And so a couple of ways schools have done this is sending home a wellness newsletter and also hosting a nutrition education parent night. And some schools even do cooking classes for parents as well. Next slide. So 2/3 of PE should be spent in moderate to vigorous physical activity. When meeting with parents, a lot of parents were not aware about how often students were getting PE, and they were really our number one stakeholders for ensuring that, hey, increasing that physical activity throughout the day as well. Next slide. No, we're running a little bit long. So policy implementation and accountability. So every school must nominate a wellness champion annually. We really want to see local school wellness teams, which can include parents on there. And sometimes some parents, workers are wellness champions at schools as well. We want to see schools reporting quarterly to the local school council. And we also want to make note that each school progress report will have an indicator that also displays how parents and how the public effectively is implementing the wellness policy at the school. And so what we want you to leave you with today is reviewing the Fundraise Well, Celebrate Well, and Reward Well sections of the toolkit on learnwellcps.org. We want you to invite families to help write the healthy fundraising and celebrations plan. We would like you to integrate health and wellness into family events and invite parents to serve on your school wellness team. Next slide.
Great. Thank you so much, Leandra, for providing that overview of what CPS is doing. We really appreciate it. So we will have our next speaker join us in one moment. While we intro him, we're going to have you do another poll question just to make sure everybody is awake. Is school staff required to create a parent engagement plan for their classroom? So if you're a teacher, are you required to create a parent engagement plan? If you're a principal, do you require schools to? And so we will introduce Dana Butler, who is principal at Irma C. Ruiz Elementary, which is a fine and performing arts magnet cluster school in the Pilsen Little Village network. He is in his 25th year with CPS, 10th year as principal, and 24th year at Ruiz School, which is just fantastic. He is a proud CPS alumni and a proud partner with Healthy Schools Campaign. We are very happy to have Dana Butler with us today. Just to share the results of that poll, it looks like Most people are not required to create a parent engagement plan for their respective classrooms, but a third of you are working on it and 13% are. So without further ado, we will go ahead and hand it over to Dana.
Thank you for the opportunity to share some of the great development we've achieved at Ruiz School. And we're definitely a wellness in progress. Yesterday we were talking and I said I didn't want to keep saying next, but I'm going to say next. Next slide. How wellness became important to me. My family has historically struggled with obesity for the past 2 generations, and it's really come to a greater light because all of the statistics and the things that we're learning about the foods that we eat, how exercise can affect our social, emotional, and all of those important cogs that help us to move forward. I mentioned baseball because I've been blessed to have played baseball my entire life from 8 years old, and I think it really helped me to grow academically, physically, emotionally, because there's so many things that are tied to exercise and athletics that are positive veins that help us throughout our lives. And I mentioned Julian High Schools because our school, health and physical education was not a sideline or a sidebar. It was an important part of our whole school culture, and we offered so many different opportunities. But what I thought was unusually unique at that time was the role that the parents played in it. Actually helping and coming out, being a part of the things that were going on and participating as well when they had opportunities to do parent games with the kids. And I think when I got to see it at that early stage of the game, it really impacted the way that we move. Next slide. Demographics of our school. Irma C. Ruiz was a police officer who was killed in the line of duty protecting children. She's been a great inspiration to our school and our community. We were built in 1989. Population's about 931 students, predominantly Hispanic or Latino population. We service pre-K through 8th grade with bilingual classrooms through pre-K through 3rd grade, transitional bilingual 4th and 5th grade, and departmental 6th through 8th grade. And we have an inclusion program for our students with special needs and learning challenges. And we are located in the heart of Chicago in the Pilsen community. Next. Our Go for the Gold journey, we were partnered with the Healthy Schools campaign, and again, thanks to Rosa, Krista, Anayensi, and all of the great people who helped us to apply for this. Our wellness champion, Debbie Zigowitz, and I were invited to attend the White House to promote the Michelle Obama initiative to fight obesity. Which goes into our health and physical education, recreation, and dance. Our other physical education teacher, Mr. LeBron, they completely understand how important physical activity is to help us, and we are proud participants with the Olivio 5K. Our students were one of the first groups to perform with the Marathon Kids that simulated an actual marathon. And I think it's just important, as we'll go through some of the other slides, just important to all of the different activities that can help to move your school. They gave you an incredible presentation on the wellness policy and how it fits in with your schools. I encourage you to review it as administrators, staffs, parents, and all stakeholders, so you can actually put it into put it into a place where it actually works. Next slide. Not even a wet baby likes change. It's very difficult when we are so used to having our convenient pizza parties and birthday cakes and cupcakes to transitioning into having to really, really look at what we are doing for kids. Along with Aramark, who with our new food services, we want to make sure that we are practicing what we are preaching, and the things that we say the kids should have, they should have, and just making all of these participants a part of this. At the end of the year, we did send out some early reminders to our parents about changes and that we hope to implement with our school and our students. But the key for us would be the 3 M's of moderation, motivation, and modeling. We know this is not going to change overnight, but we have to move in the right direction and have goals that we are trying to get towards, including the functioning of a wellness team that's comprised of all the stakeholders as well. Next slide. Our organizations are great. Again, I've already mentioned our physical education, but we have intramural basketball, volleyball, jump rope for heart. Our staff spirit week is incredible, where the staff and the students play games against each other for softball, basketball, and volleyball. We also are part of the May I Have This Dance. Margot Toppin is the educational director, where the kids have an opportunity to experience salsa, merengue, swing, waltz, tango, and an array of dances while working on their social skills. And also mindful practice with Carla Tantino, who helps to employ some of the calming agents, and yoga to try to help to improve our recess program. We're really going to push towards trying to get a better hook on that. And also our Common Threads program, where our students have an opportunity to learn how to cook at an early age, between the ages of 8 and 11, and the Small Bites program, where it will be incorporated into the actual classroom at the 4th grade level. Next slide. Expectations, connections with our families and school community, the nutrition education, just trying to put a twist on it for our students as they're learning all of the different content areas. This is equally as important, teaching students how to read labels, looking for salt and sugar content, understanding what BMI really means, encouraging all of your teachers and supporting them to be a part of the Fit to Learn program. It's an excellent program where they can integrate the things that they're learning in those areas and implementing it into the classrooms. Again, reviewing those policies and programs that you have in place there, and then also that are mandated policies, so they aren't something that's just being forced upon you. These are things that we all agree are probably going to help us and help our kids to move forward. Finding some incredibly different ways to do fundraising. I'm going to be working with my staff, and we're going to try to come up with as many different types of things that we can do that are not necessarily around just candy, although it still has its place. Just have to figure out how it has its place. We most certainly want to implement a dance marathon, pennies for pounds, and pledges for healthy alternatives as well. As you can see, the fruit baskets that were created by the parents there, we're trying to think of a way that we can actually use that as a fundraiser as well. Next slide. How to get the stakeholders on the wellness team. Motivations, if you're not motivated by anything else, just the cost of health care. Enough said. How much better we feel when we're exercising, eating better, and making those adjustments that just really, really have an impact on our day, from the moment we get up in the morning, from the time that we can actually fall asleep. Trying to find some incentives that are intrinsic and extrinsic? Well, it's nice to have reward systems, but they should be more of a celebration as opposed to if you do this, you get that. You can see that we were able to get a bike donation, and although it's intrinsic, the intrinsic part is that they're going to be riding them, and it's going to be helping them to get healthy as well. And getting adolescents, especially our young men and young women, to start to eat and not starve themselves and not believe, you know, some of the social media things about that are associated with being super skinny. And just helping our parents and family and friends to understand that we love them and we want them to be around as long as possible. Next slide. Our role as a principal instructional leader, that's part of the reason my wonderful staff, and hello to my wonderful staff at Ruiz School who are watching, they're going to help me to own this work because they're going to be a part of it, and they'll actually be able to play the recording to be able to say, remember when you said this, and that's how you become accountable. You make people accountable for this, which is my next one of the networks, getting buy-in from your network and telling them that this is very important to what they do and how the schools run and having healthier schools, and it will cut down on absenteeism for all kids. And the community, reaching out to the restaurants, the businesses, faith-based organizations. You see we have a wonderful garden that is nationally acknowledged, and we've got great people working on the garden, Mr. McWilliams, Valerie Kamisic, again, Deanna Ruski, just tons of people, and they've created teams of people out there who are going to help them throughout the rest of the school year as well. Next slide. Don't reinvent the wheel. You know, find out what schools have done that are successfully and tailor it to your school's needs. And creating your own map. What are your goals? What will you monitor? Who will monitor, and how will you know that you've had success with them? Always want to hang out down there in the camp. Creativity, just try to really, there shouldn't be a box to think outside of. What do we think is good for kids? What do we think is the best for the kids? And what's the evidence that we have, and try to create around that. Staying active in the process as well as in the process, exercising and modeling for the kids ourselves, while trying to keep this policy rolling. Using the media, radio, news, Facebook, Twitter, anything to promote and get resources for your school. Edutopia is a website that you can talk to people about all kinds of things that help to integrate these into your classroom. And proposals, putting together things that sound really cutting edge, because someone somewhere, as financially strapped as our nation seems to be, people seem to find money for important things when it's around kids. Well, most people do. And that is my presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dana. That was fantastic, and it's always great to hear about all the exciting things that are going on at Ruiz. We will hand it over to our next presenter in a moment. Our next presenter is Ann Gillespie from Academy for Global Citizenship. We'll ask one last poll question of the audience. Does your school involve parents on your wellness team? And then if you don't have a wellness team, there's an option there for that. So as an educator, Ann deeply believes that all students should be instilled with the capacity to be lifelong learners, problem solvers, and to have the ability to work individually and collaboratively. Above all, students must be encouraged to question and evaluate information critically through this to develop an awareness of their own place in the world. Ann has infused this philosophy in her work as a Chicago public school teacher, 6th grade teacher at Frankfurt International School, and now as the founding principal of the Academy for Global Citizenship. So we are very excited to have Ann with us. We will show, it looks like most people do involve parents on the wellness team, and quite a few are working on it. So that's great to see. So we will now hand it over to Ann.
Hi everybody, it's great to be with you today and to share some of the ways that we involve both families and staff in our wellness initiatives here at ADC. To give you a little bit of background, we are just starting our 6th year of operation. We have about 300 kids in kindergarten through 6th grade. We will be growing through 8th grade though, so we add a grade level every year. So eventually we will be kindergarten through 8th grade. We're located on the southwest side of Chicago near Midway Airport. We serve a predominantly Hispanic and Latino population. Yeah, let's jump into the next slide. All right, so this is a slide a little bit similar to one that Dina actually had, and that is acknowledging that change can be hard. And this has been a really important thing that I think we've done here at AGC is really talk about how change can be challenging very openly and honestly with everybody. So acknowledging that even small changes can be really big adjustments for people. Acknowledging that both food and wellness can be very personal and sensitive topic, and that but that food and wellness is very important to talk about, and that we're going to work on it together. So how we've enacted these sentiments is when I meet with parents individually or at conferences or at PTA meetings, just coming out and saying, you know, we have this food policy and I know it can be a little bit different, but we're going to work on it together. So, so yeah, change is hard, but acknowledge that. Next slide, please. All right, some lessons learned. So definitely involving everyone from the beginning has been a very important thing we've done here at AGC. And what I mean by all stakeholders would be students, staff members, and our parents, of course. So in various ways we've engaged everybody from day one. And then also this can be a hard one. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but sticking to the policy, our wellness policies for everyone at all times. So having no wiggle room or exceptions. And this has been really important because if we allow, some cupcakes at one child's birthday celebration in the classroom, then how can we not allow every child to bring cupcakes, for example? So even though it can be really hard, especially at the beginning, we really have been very clear with everyone that we have a very specific wellness policy and that it's going to be applied fairly and equally to everyone at all situations. But then of course we balance that with support. So going back to my cupcake example for birthday parties in the classroom, we say we're not allowing food to be brought in for birthday celebrations. However, what you can bring are little gift bags of fancy pencils and fun stickers, or a book to contribute to the classroom library. And so in our parent handbook, we have a whole list of things that we suggest to families if they would like to bring something to celebrate a student's birthday. So it's not just telling them you can't, but here are all of the things that you can do. And then definitely having all staff on board. Again, I acknowledge that this can be tricky sometimes, but it's incredibly important to success of implementing the policy. So I work really hard as a principal to get all staff on board, and if they're helping me support all of these policies, we're just going to be so much more successful. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do we go about supporting families and, of course, staff? So we avoid semantics or mentality around we're good and you're bad. Again, this kind of speaks to this idea that food and wellness can be a very sensitive and personal thing. So we never talk about how all the things we're doing with wellness are good at school and what you need to change, what you're doing at home, and that sort of thing. We definitely avoid any sort of mentality like that and semantics around that. So we really like to stress this idea of choice and balance. So we all can make different choices, and informing kids and families about how their choices have different impacts on their lives is a really important angle that we take. And that yeah, it's important to have balance in your life and think about how these choices are bringing balance. And then definitely delegating the work is a really, really important thing. Not one person cannot do this by themselves. So forming a wellness team consisting of passionate family members and staff is very, very important. I guarantee at every school you're going to have at least a couple of staff members and a couple of family members, if not more, who are very passionate about wellness. So doing your best to seek those people out and get them engaged, and giving them some tasks to help you do this work is a good suggestion. And then investing time and energy in a wide variety of parent education is something we've thought a lot about here at AGC. And thinking about some non-traditional things too. So if you're having a workshop, do a workshop maybe at the local park where you'll walk there together and walk back to the school. Just simply getting people moving. Promoting community-based sports programs. So we had a community-based volleyball program that contacted us recently that wants to rent out our gym. And so, of course, that fits so well within our wellness policy. Creating and selling a healthy school cookbook can be a nice alternative to doing a like a pizza fundraiser or something like that. So this is another way to raise money, but also promote health and wellness at the same time. Next slide. So additional examples of some things that we've done here at AGC. We've created what we call a stoplight food policy system. So from day one, we've always had a pretty comprehensive food policy, but we really wanted to work with families and staff in translating that into a very clear policy that even our youngest students would understand, and that would be applicable to all of our events, our lunch program, any time that there's food brought into the classroom. So I worked with our families, and we came up with this stoplight system where there's a list of green food choices which are allowed at any time, anywhere. So these are things like raw fruits and vegetables, of course things like water as drinks, whole grains, these sorts of things. And then there are yellow choices, and these are things that are okay in moderation. And then we have a red category, which are things that we just never allow in school or at any of our events. So these would be things with high fructose corn syrup, anything that has artificial colors or flavors in it, meats that have nitrates added to them, etc. And that stoplight is something I'm very happy to share as well. So we can certainly email that out to you afterwards. And then we also promote this concept that everyone eats breakfast and lunch. Here at AGC, we do have a special food program that's made from scratch every day and 100% organic. And I share with all of our families that we put a lot of time and effort into thinking about our food program, and we just as much of time as we've thought into our math program, for example. So we expect everybody to come to school and learn math, and so we're expecting everybody to come here and eat breakfast and lunch. And that's been a very successful approach, and it's been a way for families just to really truly understand the importance of eating breakfast and lunch at school. And then again, engaging passionate parents. They've been my biggest allies, and passion can spread. So it's not me just going around and spreading this wellness vision. I have a whole group of people who are also talking to other parents about what we're doing in terms of wellness. And then, of course, involving the students. So often I think in school we don't always think about getting kids on board, even our kids of all ages. So we've done this in a variety of ways at AGC. We have kids who've helped us think about our menus at school, involved in our wellness team, just involving them in a whole variety of ways. And then taking a multifaceted approach to wellness. So it's not just about the food, but we have several gardens that are quite extensive, and we grow a lot, and kids have gardening class every day. Similar to Ruiz, we do yoga here every day, exercise class, both for kids and parents. After school, of course, we have our food policy. We do cooking classes. We have a very large event every year that's called Taste of AGC, where our chef creates essentially tastes or smaller versions of samples of our menus, and parents can come in and sample what kids are having for breakfast and lunch. And then little things too, like free samples at dismissal. So this is something our cook as well has done in the past, where he's made like little tasting versions of quinoa or something else that he makes for lunch, and he'll bring that out at dismissal time where families can get a taste of what their kids are eating. And then finally, making wellness omnipresent. So this is just something we think about all the time, and not something we just do on a Friday every once in a while or during a certain month of the year. So we're very intentional about signage we put up around the school promoting wellness. I'm constantly updating people about it in a variety of ways. Using social media, we were quite active on Facebook. So I'll post just different tips or ways that families can engage in wellness. Next slide. And then just some pictures of some different happenings here at AGC. So this is a snapshot of some things we grew in the garden, and that the container with a little shell on top is actually homemade toothpaste that our students made. And in the summer we do a weekly farmers market. So these were some of the things that the kids were selling at the farmers market this past school year. Next slide. And then this is a meeting that we actually had about a month ago. This is our family and staff members coming together this summer in our garden to plan a big kickoff event where we talked about sustainability and wellness with all of our families. It's called Academy for Global Citizenship Parent University. And you can see there we had a great group of families and staff come together and work on thinking about how we're going to be engaging all of our stakeholders in wellness. Next slide. So we don't have traditional PTA meetings here at AGC. We have gatherings called convivios, and these are gatherings where we bring everybody together to help learn from each other on a specific topic. So we had one on wellness last year, and it was really, really neat. It was sort of science fair style, and this particular picture is a project that two of our fifth graders did completely on their own. This was not something that was led by a teacher. They decided they wanted to present what's really in a Big Mac and research it after school on their own time. So they had this really amazing presentation of the list of all the ingredients that's in a Big Mac and some other facts about fast food. We also had a local doctor, a Latina woman, come in who runs a wellness clinic in our community, and so she came in and talked about how she promotes wellness with her patients and gave some really tangible tips for our families. She did that for free, so it was just a really amazing way to engage our community in coming in and helping our families. Next slide. And then we had presentations on some other things about here are some choices you can make for breakfast, and really getting into reading food labels and thinking about the impact of eating a lot of sugar for breakfast. Next slide. And then connecting kids with their food is something really important we do here at AGC. So we have schoolyard chickens. And they're really important. The kids have learned that eggs come from a chicken and not necessarily from the container at the refrigerated section in the grocery store. And they're right there. Their coop is right there in our recess area, and kids are entirely in charge of taking care of them, so it also teaches them responsibility. Our kindergarten teacher does a whole unit on empathy using the chickens, and they learn a lot of lessons for them, and they've just been a really important component to our wellness initiatives here at school. Next slide. And then parent education. So doing this in a variety of ways. So not only having traditional workshops, but also we have a parent lending library. I buy used books on Amazon. They're fairly inexpensive. And it's available all the time, but on parent-teacher conference days or any event that we have parents in the school, I always lay the books out on the table. And we have a very informal checkout system. I have books in Spanish as well. And a lot of them are about wellness and how to promote wellness at home. Next slide. Yeah, and then of course just teaching the kids. So they've been honestly some of our biggest ambassadors in terms of promoting wellness. So this is just a snapshot of some of our little kids learning about some of the things in the garden and taking some observational notes about our what's growing in the garden. So we do a lot of teaching about nutrition and wellness to our kids. And I think that might be it. Oh, you did. Okay, great, perfect. So this is a snapshot, a screenshot of our stoplight food system on the left. And on the right-hand side is a letter that describes the food policy. This is the Spanish version. We have that in English as well. So again, very happy to share these resources with anybody who would like them. All right. I think that's it. All right. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Anne. That was fantastic. It's great to hear what is going on at AGC. So we're nearing 10:30, which is when we had scheduled to end the webinar. So we're going to take just a couple questions. If any additional questions come to mind, please feel free to chat them in using that question box on your screen. So the first question for our speakers is, do you partner with any organizations in the community to bring your programs to your schools? And if so, maybe could you speak a little bit about how you partnered with those organizations? Maybe, Dana, do you want to answer first? I know you mentioned a couple, Common Threads and a handful of others, but if there are more, it would be great to highlight them.
Oh, well, like I said, our partnerships have been, we're moving in the direction more of we're in the physical education part and the healthy part. Now we're trying to get more into the food aspects of it. But because of the community garden, you know, we've reached out to the agricultural school, and they've given us lots of seeds and things that we can plant. Obviously, the Common Threads program that we spoke of, where the kids are learning how to cook. Those are kind of the mainstays besides May I Have This Dance for right now.
Great. Thank you. And Anne, are there any community partnerships that you have at AGC?
Yeah, we've engaged a lot of different groups and individuals in what we're doing here. So Common Threads as well. Purple Asparagus is another group that promotes healthy cooking, mindful practices in terms of yoga. The doctor that I mentioned that spoke at the Convivio has been engaged in what we're doing here. A group called Downsize Fitness is great. They're a gym here in the city, and they've lent us some expertise and some equipment, which has been really wonderful. We've also partnered with a local restaurant just across the street from our school, and we've sold them our tomatillos from our garden, and they've come and done, they do healthy juices at their restaurant. And so they've come and done demonstrations on how you can make healthy juices at home.
I did forget the another health part. The St. Anthony's Hospital that we partner with, Olivio Medical Center, and Organ-Wise is a program through the UIC which teaches kids about health from kindergarten all the way through 2nd grade. So they are learning about their digestive systems and what different foods do to their bodies. So as I'm sitting here looking at those CBOs, I forgot to mention them, and mindful practices as well.
In addition, at CPS, we also have a partner process, and if you just email me letting me know what school you're in, I can put you in contact with Nadia, who is our partner specialist as well, and they can assist you with finding partners that are close to your area in this nutrition, education, and physical activity.
Great, thank you so much. That's really helpful information from each speaker. So we will take one last question. So school is starting next week, and Dana and Ann, how are you engaging parents at the start of the school in wellness efforts?
Did you want to go?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So, we actually been in school here for about a week or so, and the Thursday before school started, we had a mandatory parent meeting, which we called the AGC Parent University, and it was sort of conference style, where we had different sessions and presenters, and we had a binder for every family as well. In the binder had information about our wellness policies, and then of course they had presentations about it too. So just from day one, just informing absolutely everybody on what our expectations are here and what our policies are regarding wellness. It has been a very important strategy.
And we're just going to follow up with a weekly letter that goes out, or either through our website. We're going to be able to post things and let people know where they can find the information. We want to try to be able to get those parents in and make it a part of the different meetings. I know our 8th grade teachers are scheduling a meeting to talk to parents right away, and we're going to hopefully pilot through all of the things they have to share, parts of the wellness policy, and see how well it shakes out. The 931, it's a slightly different animal for me to get something that's so important and brand new in a hurry. So we're going to be swimming, but treading and watching.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you to our speakers, and thank you to everybody who participated on today's webinar. We have the contact information for each of our speakers, so if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to them. We'll also be sending out an email later this week with a link to the webinar, and then a number of people have asked for the stoplight diagram that Ann showed in addition to that letter. So we have Ann's permission to share that, I think, so we will go ahead and send that out as well. So thank you so much to everybody, and please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great day. Have a great school year.